video games are for nerds. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about them. That's why you're listening to The Week in Gaming, the only gaming podcast that breaks down the last 7 days and tears games apart from the inside. Ugh. So forget your worries, open your ears, and join Simon Miller and a co-host for the entertainment chatter you need. Also, screw Dark Souls.
Hello and welcome to The Week in Gaming. My name is Simon Miller and this is a podcast about games, hence the name, but I like to explain things just in case you don't know. Now, I mean, we're kind of in May, kind of in April, everything seems to slow down. So I don't really know what people in games are doing at the moment. I know some games have come out, but ever since sort of Far Cry and I think God of War is what people ran away from. So we're not gonna. Well, actually, you know what I'm going to do with God of War is I'm going to do a special just on God of War because I played it quite a lot now, and I just think there's a lot there that we can talk about. However, there's loads of other stuff we can talk about games today. So at this point, I will welcome I guess you're a regular co-host now, Sam. How you doing, man? You all right?
Co-host is generous, but yeah, I'm doing all right. Thanks.
We'll look up with a new name.
Yeah, I've just been plodding along.
It's true though as well because obviously we both work in games in some respect, and we were having the conversation beforehand. God of War came out and everything just stopped because I imagine people ran away. I can't
imagine with that hype train because it was announced in summer 2016. I can imagine everyone was like, no, let's not try and compete with that. It's like that October 27th of last year. Nobody wanted to go near that.
Well, exactly.
It was the biggest games of the year dropping at the same time.
Yeah, and I think that for me, it almost feels like I don't know. I don't want to sound this is like a hyperbole statement, but to me, as a man who is looking at the game industry from afar, not necessarily going into the nitty-gritty, it certainly feels like God of War came and just completely owned Nintendo and Labo. I've not seen anybody talk about Labo at all.
Yeah, I looked at the charts this morning and I was like, oh yeah, that came out.
Yeah. And Nintendo's one of those weird things where they're probably not even overly worried about it just because it probably has catered to their demographic and they probably got, I don't know what their expectations are, but I am surprised that it has had such a lackluster. I don't mean this in equality terms of things. I mean just in terms of communication. It does feel lackluster. I don't see anybody shouting or raving about it. But then you can probably say, yeah, but it's meant for 12-year-olds, and they're probably not on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean it's not the same universal appeal as most Nintendo products. Because
No.
if you could release a Mario game that is essentially for children, but it is for everyone, whereas I don't think Labo is the universal thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Labo is exclusively for children almost, and I think that just sort of hinders its appeal. I'm sure there's been people having fun with it, but I don't think it's something to rave about as such.
No, I agree. And it's not like, I can't believe it cost that much to manufacture to begin with anyway. And also the fact that Nintendo also announced, it was about, I think it was last week, that the Switch has just gone past 17 million units. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, what did the Wii U sell? I mean, did it even sell that many total? I don't think it did it?
I've never heard of a console get discontinued before the next one released. And, I got to
type it in now. Wii U sales. I probably should have looked at this beforehand. Yeah, as of last sort of October last year, they were only touting it as coming up to 14 million consoles. So now the Switch has smashed through 17 million. So you probably can take risks like Labo and get away with it. And I'm guessing, if we're pretty much at 17.79. It probably means by end of the year it does 20, end of sort of early next year.
Yeah,
20 million sales is good. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I think you can probably. I mean, Labo can just be an experiment, and people are like, meh. Even Super Mario Odyssey has sold over 10 million copies. That's ridiculous.
Yep. And it's one of those things like God of War and Far Cry are 1 and 2 in the charts this week, but then the variety pack is at 3, so it can't be doing that badly.
Yeah,
maybe just a case of exposure, like you say. Like maybe people are just for once getting it and not shouting about it online.
Yeah.
And then we've got it's just like everyone who wanted it for their kids has been like, okay, that's cool. And that's sort of it, really.
Exactly, which I think is all right. I'm also surprised Zelda Breath of the Wild. This kind of worries me. It's coming up to 10 million sold. It's 9.98 million. And
is that on both platforms?
I would assume so. It hasn't actually been specified here, but I'm going to guess probably, right? Because you'd throw that in there. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And the best selling, because everyone forgets Zelda is, I mean, it's big, but it's not super big. You know, the bestseller was Twilight Princess, and that's got lifetime sales of 8.85 million. And you know for a fact they're including the remaster in that. Of course they are. So, I'm not saying it's a problem. Breath of the Wild was fine, but you know, if you basically smashed 10 million and you've never done it before, this is it. This is what Zelda's going to be now for a long ass time. And that makes me, this is where, because everyone always said when the 3DS came out, when the Switch came out, is that going to be the end of the 3DS? And this is why I hope that it's not, because what I'd like to happen is, okay, cool, you can do your Breath of the Wild on the Switch or whatever comes next, but give me my traditional Zelda games on the 3DS. That's what I'd like them to do. Yeah,
because for me personally, I like that these open world games exist, and they're really good for who wants them. But I personally like tighter, linear, guided experiences, a little more like, obviously like Ocarina of Time and stuff weren't like tight and guided and linear, but they were more, you know, structured and less
focused. Absolutely,
yeah. And I'd much prefer that. So yeah, I don't want Zelda to keep being like that, because honestly, like I've got like open world fear, because I've like dipped my toes into Zelda, but honestly I tried picking it up and I need to start it again because I've just lost my bearings.
Yeah,
and it's just, I just don't want to do that just yet, and it might be a case I put it off till the end of time. But it is that fear of that open world, and like I say, I'd love some more linear experiences.
Yeah, dude, I'm with you, man. I don't like it as much. It's just the truth. I just don't. I'm not saying it's a bad game. That always seems to be translated. I don't think it's a bad game, but I don't think it's as good as what's come before. It's just how I feel. That's just how I feel. It doesn't compel me to want to play it again.
Yeah.
So, you know, not to play it again. I'm not going to say that. If I did sit down with it and I play it, but I don't want to play it, if that makes sense. I don't know what I mean. It's a weird game. It's a weird game. But anyway, short version is whatever Labo does, we're smashing through. We're smashing through with Zelda, to say the least.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I forgot. What was the other thing we said we were going to talk about news-wise, which I completely forgot about? Oh, Red Dead Redemption 2's got a new trailer out on Wednesday. I'm sure it'll be amazing. Everybody will love that. And of course, Microsoft and Sony, and no, they didn't. It's not that anymore. Anyway, Shadow Tomb Raider got properly announced over the last week, which is now coming out at the same time on Xbox One and PS4, which wasn't the case before because they had a deal with Microsoft. From what I've read about it, people are calling it incredible. I mean, that was kind of the general theme from what I read and what I saw and people I spoke to, saying that this is, potentially and I've liked both of the last two Tomb Raider games, but this is the one that, I don't know, maybe goes a step outside of that. I don't know. A lot of people kind of compared it to, James Bond's Casino Royale kind of a thing, which I thought was interesting. And the sense that the game we got, the original, rebooted Tomb Raider was that, and now this is building on it. And because of that, it feels a lot more gritty, a lot more real, a lot more mature. And I'm all right with that. I like what, Crystal Dynamics are doing with this.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I've played the last two games. So Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider I've played in the last 3 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
They're easy to play, aren't they? They're really easy to play, I find.
Yeah, like I say, narrative, linear experiences.
Yeah.
I just love that. Like when Rise of the Tomb Raider was like, do you want to forage for berries? I was like, no. Please do not make me forage for berries. And yeah, like Shadow looks a lot darker though. Like the other two were clearly like post Uncharted games.
Yeah.
But this one is like post Uncharted 4. In the sense that I've not played a lot of Uncharted 4, so I might be talking nonsense, but it's a little less about the woohoo shooting dudes and adventure and more about the character's culmination of a story, because it is the last in the Origin trilogy.
Yeah.
Whether they're going to keep going and not call it an Origin trilogy, it's a different thing. But yeah, it looks really good, and I like the darker setting, because to be honest, Rise was more of the same with just a bit more filler, I thought.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the reboot is or whatever you want to call it, is the best one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then this one seems to be, as much of Rise of the Tomb Raider still, but just going in a different narrative direction, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by it. I don't think they put a step wrong with it so far. I think is why I'm excited about it, and it kind of steps to its own beat now in the modern day world. Like it doesn't seem to get taken in. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this one will. Maybe there's things we don't know about it. But from what I've read and what I know, it's not being taken in by a lot of the tick boxes that games feel obliged to these days. And a lot of those things I don't like. So, even with something like God of War, which again we'll do a special on this week, that has it's kind of like, it's not semi-open world, but it kind of is. And as much as it works, I'm like, I don't need that. I don't need it. And I'm not going to, I know that Tomb Raider doesn't really fit into it'll probably do the same kind of thing, but I just don't need it. I'm all right with old school ideas. I don't think that means your game is not up with the modern trend. Because to me, a modern trend video game would be, and I know it's a bit long in the tooth, but a modern day trend would be Far Cry. And I got a bit bored of that really quickly. So, just sometimes you can be too open.
Yeah, I actually really like experiences that are maybe like Resident Evil, like under 10 hours maybe. Yeah. You could just play through, you know where to go. Because honestly, nothing bores me more than not knowing where to go. I hate it, yeah. But not knowing where to go is the most boring thing.
Absolutely.
And but yeah, that's why I smashed Tomb Raider out in 2 weeks, because I loved it. It wasn't like, oh, please give me more of that. It was like, that is good, and I had enough. And that's when Rise of the Tomb Raider. Have you played Rise of the Tomb Raider?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when it opens up to that bit where it's like, you could do side missions now, and I was just like, no, just slap me my main objective marker. I will go there, and I would ignore everyone else, because you actually don't need to. I'm not saying I'd love them to railroad me into doing it, but if you don't need to, then it's absolutely pointless, really.
No, I agree, man. I don't need distractions. The game is the distraction. I'm distracting myself from something else. It's just, I'm not saying you can't put that stuff in, but don't feel obliged. It doesn't bother me. But I think we may be in the minority in that sense. I don't know, actually. I kind of see people go different ways on this. But no, I'm certainly with you. And as we're talking about Tomb Raider as well, you mentioned that you started playing Uncharted 4 recently.
Yes.
How far in are you?
Literally, like in the setting up sequences, because I know stuff happens with the brother, but I don't know the ins and outs yet because I'm still with him at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's like, I have never before had a game where I was like, I really wish I had the 4K HDR setup. But when you go into that opening bit and then you see the abandoned prison tower that's all lit up and it's all like tropical, and it's just like, well, this is a damn good looking game, and I wish I had a 4K TV.
Yeah.
But as for the rest of it, it's really tight. It's a really tight experience, and it's just really fun. Yeah, really tight. And after Tomb Raider, I think it's probably a little bit better from what I've seen, but obviously it's early days.
I really liked it. I mean, I played it sort of about a year ago, I think, April time last year. So I didn't play it when it first came out, and I thought it's a really good Uncharted game. But by the end of it, I was kind of like I felt, not so much with Far Cry, because Uncharted is so easy to play just because it's so silly.
Yeah.
In the sense that it doesn't really take itself seriously. Naughty Dogs are awesome at pacing things, and it has some really good set pieces. But I was like, if they release Uncharted 5 and it's the same, would I play it one day? Yeah, probably. If I was bored on a Sunday, I'd probably sit down with it. But would I go out of my way to play it? The answer is no, which is weird. Because, Uncharted kind of went on a weird journey. Uncharted 1, we'll call it, kind of took people by surprise. It was kind of word of mouth. Uncharted 2 was this phenomenon. For me, Uncharted 3 was disappointing. But I still played that.
Uncharted 2 was disappointing for me too.
Yeah, and I played that day one. With Uncharted 4, I was like, I'll get to it. And I still loved it when I did, but I don't know whether if I knew Uncharted 5 did something similar, because Uncharted 4 got great reception when it came out. Would I actually dedicate the time to go and play it at this stage? I think that's my question. I love the formula, but have I done it enough now where it's not really enough to sink its claws into me straight away? Because essentially what you've played so far is Uncharted 4. And there's nothing wrong with that, because they're great at taking to settings, the story's really interesting, and every now and then, like I say, they'll throw a good set piece in there. But there's nothing coming that's going to, knock your socks off. Like, oh my gosh, it's so innovative and original. And as we've just said, it doesn't need that. But hey, we're on to Uncharted 4, we're on to Uncharted 5. That's when I start questioning, right, what do I want from this game now?
Yeah, I mean, Uncharted 5, from what I've heard, people said it's a nice wrapping up. Nobody's told me what's happened in this game, but people tell me it's a nice wrapping up.
Oh, yeah, the story's really good. It's a really good story.
Yeah, but I mean, if they release Uncharted 5, I'll probably play it just because there's very few under 10 hours experiences that are just play through very easy. I set my games on easy. I don't care who judges me. Just
no, I don't say
easy to blast through them.
Yeah, I'm the same, man. I honestly, God of War was a bit hard to turn it down because I'm not there for that. I just want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
To me, this archaic, I shouldn't say archaic. If you like it, I'm not saying it's a problem. I don't mean it in a negative way, but I would call it an archaic idea that games have to be a challenge is dead. That's when they were in arcades. That's why they were hard, because they wanted you to put more pounds in. Doesn't mean you can't develop a hard video game like Dark Souls. That's fine. But I think if you're creating a AAA all-encompassing experience like Uncharted, you should have an easy option, because some people just want to enjoy it for what it is. I do. Same with God of War. I just want to kick the shit out of stuff and not be challenged. That's why I don't like boss fights these days. I don't see the point. I don't see the point of a boss fight unless it's a really, something like Mr. Freeze in Arkham Asylum. Fantastic, but there are boss fights even in God of War that come up a lot. You don't need this. You've done it because I think you feel like it needs to be a video game, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean, boss fights were sort of the thing for Dark Souls because, of course,
but that's fine. That works within the context of what it was. But when you talk about Uncharted 3, you had those mini boss fights with those guys that had those like heavy machinery weapons, and they took forever to take down. And the boss fights you usually get at the end of Uncharted games. And I'm like, what's that about? Like, what's the point? Well, I don't need this.
What was the Uncharted game that had that dude that just ran around screaming at you?
Uncharted 2. That was in the forest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last boss of Uncharted 2. It's awful. And it took forever. It was terrible. And then you had to... It was really weird because you did that, and then you kind of got the Halo 3 ending where you had to like run across the bridge as everything crumbled. So why can't that just be the ending? It's why I wasn't mad at Gears 2. Gears 2 endings, you push a button and you win. And everyone was like, well, that was rubbish. No, it wasn't. Like, because you'd already done the hard stuff beforehand.
Yeah.
I never understand the criticism. But how many hours do you think you've been playing Uncharted for?
3.
Okay, so you're into it though. It's not like you just started. Has it got its hooks in you? Like you want to go back?
Absolutely, yeah. It's not like I say that it doesn't matter. I think it is one of those things. People say that games don't matter when they look good, but when they do look good, you notice. You know what I mean? So if a game looks not great, I won't be like I'm not playing it. But a big pull of Uncharted it is stunning, and it's a really fun game, and I like that it's taking things. It's really polished as well, like really polished.
Yeah, and
like that prison fight you have, that is so well executed.
It's really good, isn't it?
The whole package is just really good, and I'm liking where they're taking the story as well. So yeah, I'm a bit late to the party, but yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it though, man. I know some people get funny about that, but that's kind of the way I like to play games. It's even like with Infinity War that's just come out. I seem to be very good at avoiding spoilers. That's basically me just going to spoil it for everybody. People come spoil it for me now. But I like coming to things once the hype has died down, because I think sometimes the hype can ruin it. It's nice to sort of share those experiences. But yeah, I definitely think that you don't. Sometimes I think there's a benefit of waiting. Even if it is a year and a half, 2 years, that's good. You go back to a game that you know is really good.
And plus, it might be that I'm just a massive contrarian or a hipster, but there's nothing worse than people going on at you about to do stuff like, yeah, you've got to play this, you've got to watch. Like I had a friend who went on me to watch Breaking Bad for ages, and I was like, stop. And then 2 years later, I watched it. I was like, this is really good.
Yeah, you see, I'm with you, man. I'm 100% with you. So I did play something this week, but I can't talk about it for a couple of weeks. I will say that what I played was very good. But yeah, it's embargoed. It's a relatively well-known game, and I was very impressed. It's a sequel. I wasn't massively enamored with the first one, but I actually think this one's really good. Other than that, yeah, it's just been God of War, which I'll hold my thoughts for an episode later this week, which we're going to do with a Patreon member I'll throw out there as well. And if you'd like to come on the podcast, you can at patreon.com/Simon316. Nice and easy. All right, so, me and Sam knew that it was a quiet weekend. It's not a quiet weekend games. It's just people playing God of War, people playing Far Cry. I guess there's people playing Labo. And there's not a lot of news coming out. So we just thought, we put a tweet out asking for your questions, and we're just going to smash through those, because why not? I quite enjoy answering people's questions.
Yeah.
So that is what we are going to do. So we will start with, I think we did this before, but we'll talk about it again. Daniel Boss, favourite of the BioShock series. Now, you love BioShock, Sam. What's your favourite? It's your favourite series?
Yeah, I wouldn't say favourite series, because people are just like, you must love Infinite. And I'm just like, hold on. Like, it's not that I dislike Infinite. People think, like, if you say, I don't think Infinite's quite as good as it is, it's like what you say when you say anything bad about a game that's loved. People are just like, you hate that game. I don't hate that game. But BioShock Infinite is just not nearly as clever as it thinks it is.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it, but I don't think it's as like wow as everyone else does. But BioShock, favourite game of all time, yeah.
Yeah, so there's no point arguing that one, is there? I'd go for BioShock as well. I do like Infinite a lot, but BioShock has the added advantage of being the first one. And the way it builds that opening, and the first 2 hours of build are just incredible. They're unmatched. It probably is let me say this. Let me think about it before I say this. Is it the best opening of any game ever?
I think so. I think what they do is they get their whole what they want the player to see Rapture as, and really artsy and wanky now, and it just sort of compartmentalizes that into a wow moment. And I don't think a lot of people have that wow moment. Like the Oblivion sewers were like that, but I don't think it was as well crafted. It was just sort of like, here's a world, there you go.
Yeah,
and this was just amazing. Yeah,
I think the Oblivion one was just the sheer wow, I can go anywhere in a time before open worlds are kind of blown up on consoles. Whereas Bioshock is more, it's the production of it, and just the way, the pacing, and the eeriness and the atmosphere, the tension. It's an incredible opening. I'm trying to think about it. I mean, I do like the opening to, is it God of War 3? That's nuts. That has it climbing up this massive things,
Yeah.
That's very good. But no, I mean, I can't think of anything that starts as well as Bioshock does. It's in the conversation, to say the least. But I would say, the first one is the best one. But I like both. I like all three. And I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do next. Wayne Amsden, what are your thoughts on games slowly moving away from a single-player campaign and moving into online only? With successes like The Witcher 3 and God of War, why are gaming companies now focusing on profits as opposed to player experience? Well, you kind of answered your own question there, Wayne. The answer is money. Moving
on.
Yeah, that is the case. And it does suck, don't get me wrong. And it's a fair question to ask. But unfortunately, as games get more expensive to develop and the industry changes, they want to make money. And if more people are going to be playing multiplayer games, I mean, we don't know. It seems very likely that Call of Duty Black Ops 4 does not have a single player. Now, 5 years ago, would that have bothered me? Yes. However, I am probably part of the problem because I've stopped playing Call of Duty, so it doesn't matter what they do. I'm not going to play if it has a single player. I'm also not going to play if it doesn't have a single player because I'm done with the franchise. And I assume they have a lot of material and stats that say that's true. And 95% of their player base just want multiplayer, so they're not going to spend money on it. However, counterpoint to that, from a personal point of view, as me and Sam have been talking about, I'd much rather have single player campaign and experiences these days. I don't mind multiplayer games, but where I am in my life, I don't really dedicate that much time to it. I just want good stories, 10 hours. I mean, literally all the stuff that we've quite ironically already touched upon. But ironically, coincidentally. But I mean, I assume you feel the same, Sam.
I don't think it's going to lead to the death of single player games. I think that's a bit catastrophizing the whole thing. But I think what it will mean is that a lot of people are going to rely on existing names, like God of War. People say, that meme where it's like single player games are dead, but no, they're not. Here are all these games.
Yeah.
A lot of those games are existing franchises that you're guaranteed to get a good sell on. I think it's just going to limit the number of new IPs that people experiment with. Because Mass Effect Andromeda probably sold quite well because it was a Mass Effect game. Super Mario Odyssey, no doubt sold well because it was a Mario game, and God of War was the return of Kratos, and that's why it sold well. But yeah, it would be a shame to see new IPs get drowned out. But I don't think the movement to online is necessarily that bad. But it's just, I guess, how they do it, and that's why there was a big lashback against, loot boxes and stuff. But the actually being online is actually not a problem for me, because if they make good online experiences like Far Cry, which I could play for hours with my friend, I'm happy with that.
Yep, I do agree with that. Like, I think you're right. I think it's a case of a new IP, isn't it? Who's got the balls to release? Because even something like Anthem, but though you mentioned it just then, Anthem is a co-op game, really. So maybe that will be great. Maybe it'd be really fun to play that through that world with a friend. I don't know. I mean, EA and BioWare, but I hope it is. Otherwise, BioWare's screwed. I wonder what they do with the next Dragon Age game. That'd be interesting. Do we even get another Dragon Age game? I don't know.
There's a big old rumor that, it had some problems, but it's still in the pipelines and stuff. But it's got to be really they got to be really careful with it, if you know what I mean. So that's might be why they're just sort of assessing their options.
Yeah.
Because another Andromeda would be disastrous.
Oh, it really is. Anthem's got to smash it. It really does. Garth, what franchise or forgotten game would you like to see rebooted? I'd love a new Soul Reaver or Legacy of Kain. My answer's always the same. I'd like RC Pro-Am back. It's a game that we're never going to see because it was developed by Rare and it was put on Nintendo machines, so it's already dead. But I love that series. Or Micro Machines. But a good Micro Machines. All the new Micro Machines have been bollocks. Sam?
I want a new Skate game. Do
you really?
I'd either just put the last three out while someone is making it, put them out and remaster them on these consoles, or just give me Skate 4. Just please, anything.
Wasn't Skate 3 broken?
Skate 3 is made fun of a lot for its glitches and stuff, which it had. Like there was a thing you could do, and it worked on online as well. If you constantly did like this move or whatever, you glitched into the floor and flew up in the air. But I mean, like it's one of those games that like excels despite its glitches. Like in Far Cry 5, Far Cry 5 is full of bugs, but people love it anyway. Yeah. And I actually played Skate for the skating, believe it or not the glitches, despite some people online playing it for the glitches. But no, I really want more of that. But with Black Box, I don't think even existing anymore.
It's going to be tough,
I don't think we'll ever get it, and if not, it's not by the same name.
It's a shame because that first Skate game was amazing. When you first played, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so clever. Especially because it was kind of coming at the end of the Tony Hawk boom, and something needed to keep that genre alive. And it was the first Skate game in terms of ingenuity. It blew my brain. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I actually jumped on board with Skate 2, and then when I played Skate 1 afterwards, I was like, are you telling me I can't get off my board? You designed this so I can get off my board. And one of the challenges is up some stairs, and I'm like, you're sick. You guys are sick.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. During that time where the second stick became everything in video games, they came up with such a good idea. It's brilliant. You're right, it's a brilliant franchise. I wouldn't hate that at all. Ed Fries, thoughts on Fortnite and the Battle Royale style game wave and how solo versus team playing is coming back to the forefront. That is a good point. Team playing is far more popular now than it was, because Call of Duty always used to, even in team death matches, and you're not really, playing it as thing. Obviously, people used to play, what the hell's it called? Team Fortress, but, it's been going for ages. I think Overwatch is kind of kickstarted all that a little bit, and then Fortnite and Battle Royale. Look, it's not something that I'm personally into as of yet. Doesn't mean I'm not going to, but I think online I'd always rather play with a team these days than sort of standard deathmatch. I think I've just done it so much.
Yeah, I think the same, and I think the important thing is that it's squads, and there's nothing worse than just being in a lobby with like 12 people on the same team, because it's not team play. You're never going to get team play because it's just people online. Yeah. When you get squads, 3 friends online, that's just a really tight knit community. I remember there was Wingman in Gears of War, and I was just lamented that nobody else does Wingman, and I have a friend I play online with most of the time. I love Wingman. Just us two. But it's just that's so good. Like you don't have to have a massive team. I want just me and my bro being a duo, and that's why I play duos on Fortnite, because that's just amazing. I love smaller team experiences because that just encourages teamwork, like they say.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Like I just Wingman was my favorite mode in Gears of War 2.
Yep.
I'd always play team deathmatch in COD, even that wasn't really a team, just because I like the idea of it. It's just a better idea. And maybe look, I'll get round to Fortnite at some point. I think it's so big now. I'm intrigued, but as you've just said, it kind of specifies or takes care of people that want to go in that direction anyway.
Yeah, have you tried it yet?
No, nothing. Literally, not at all. I will, but as of yet, no. I was too busy being a wrestler. And I only throw that in because I've just seen the next question from Alex Vaughan is, how has your amazing wrestling success changed your appetite from being a games person to a wrestling superstar, which is lovely but way over the top, and as such, how many more of these podcasts can we expect? Well, I don't think it's changed at all. But yeah, that's the only reason I read that and it made me laugh. But no, I don't think it's changed at all. And I take things day by day. We'll see what happens. If I get so busy wrestling that I can't do these, you'll be the first to know. I'll probably be the happiest man on the planet. Bob Catman01, what's your favourite game or game series? I think we answered this before, but I don't mind answering it again. My favourite game was Ocarina of Time, just because of nostalgia and where I was and all those kind of things.
Yeah, mine's BioShock. I said it, but yeah, I think it just nails what it wants to achieve amazingly. And it was one of those things. I think it was one of the first games I'd seen it pre-release, and I'd seen it before I got my Xbox 360. I was like, oh, I've got to play this. And when you get a new console, when you're like, especially when I was like 14, 15, just wowed by the graphics and stuff like that. It's one of those moments. And yeah. When you're more fresh-faced and less cynical about the world.
Dude, it makes a difference, man.
It does, yeah.
It really makes a difference because it just does. It just does. When you're a kid, you just view the world differently. It's like, why is everybody's favourite wrestler Hulk Hogan or Roya? Because you're a kid. That's the first wrestlers you see. It's the same with everything. It's just how it works. Francisco Uribe, do you think the Switch will become the best Nintendo console in history? Now, best is an interesting word.
That's a dangerous phrase.
Yeah, dangerous phrase. I mean, I'm not going to say best. I'm not even going to say best selling because I don't think it can outdo the Wii. I mean, the Wii sales were, I'm going to type it now, Wii total sales I think are ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it sold over 100 million. It sold about 102 million units. I don't see the Switch doing 102 million units, especially not the Xbox 360, for example, did 84 million units, which goes to, and that was a huge success. So, I don't think it's going to be the best selling, but I think it's important. I think it could be Nintendo's most important console ever, just because they were coming the back off the Wii U, which was a failure. I like the Wii U, but there's no two ways about it. It was a failure in terms of what Nintendo hoped it would be. And yeah, you can put that down to bad marketing and bad explanation of what the product was, but doesn't neither here nor there. It still happened. So,
do you remember? I don't know if you remember when there was a big leak about what the Switch was, and everyone was like, "Controllers on the side of it? It's like a tablet," and everyone was just like, "What?"
Exactly, because it was just so weird, right?
Yeah, and now it's just amazing, like the fact that we would be able to take games like Wolfenstein on the train in, I don't know when it's out, sometime this year, and like Skyrim and stuff like that. You wouldn't have thought that was possible 2 years ago. Like, it's just crazy.
Exactly. I think that's the really cool thing is that, it does count for a lot. A lot of people say, "Oh, it doesn't matter." No, it does. These experiences that are now portable is a huge reason to think about getting them on the Switch, like FIFA. It really is. You think, "Oh, well, I like FIFA. Maybe I'll go and get it on." Yeah, maybe I'll go get it on Switch because I can take it on the train or whatever. And that is a selling point. It just is. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah, I don't think the Wii itself actually had that many good games either. So if the Switch could continue actually releasing quality games like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, we're getting Melee, we're getting the Pokemon game, if they're all really high quality, like there's no reason to say it couldn't be the best quality console ever.
Yeah.
Because the Wii, I mean, it had Galaxy and stuff, but I don't think it had an extensive list of good titles.
No, I agree. But so yeah, I think it's going to be really, really important. Probably, I mean, best is the word is too heavy. The word is too heavy. Ghostwriter, what would you like to see Xbox bring to the table at this year's E3? And he's taken my answer. Games, obviously, but what games?
Please, just any games.
Just games. What do you buy for Xbox? What is coming out on the Xbox One? I mean, look, PlayStation have got this wrapped up. We got God of War, right? Everyone's loving it, saying it's crazy. We've got Spider-Man. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's Spider-Man. It's a great thing to have in the pocket. You've got Last of Us 2 coming. We've chatted about Uncharted 4. There's probably things I'm forgetting. Shadow of the Colossus just came out recently, remastered, but whatever. People loved it. What is the last specific Xbox game you bought? Sea of Thieves? Yeah, sure. But that came and went, whereas Sony seemed to be very good at continually to throw things in the pipeline. What is my next Xbox One experience? What am I waiting for? I mean, Gears, but that's not going to be till next year minimum. Halo, we got no idea. Like,
the thing is with Gears, like Gears of War 4 was good, but like if they released Gears of War 5, I'd be like, okay, cool.
Yeah, even I would be, and I love Gears of War. It's like, unless they're going to do something massive, which makes everyone go, "Oh, this just picked up." What? Yeah, like I don't know what Xbox have in their pocket right now.
It's got to be Halo, right? It's got to be. But I can't imagine it not being Halo. But Halo, there's nothing else.
But that to me is in the same bracket as Gears. But okay, but that's it. I like yeah, Halo's right. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't get me excited though. It just doesn't get me excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a more long-term thing, as if they haven't got an existing back catalogue, unless they announce some good new IPs. But it's hard to generate buzz about new IPs, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no idea what they're going to announce. But games, please, games would be good.
Just games. Yeah, just release some games that you need. You need something in the pipeline that is going to get people excited about your console. Right now, I'm not excited about the Xbox. I'm not. I like it, but I'm not excited about it. Dominic, did you ever get into the Final Fantasy series? If so, do you think the 7 remake is going to be a big letdown? Yes, because you're never going to be able to appease all these crazy people that have been waiting for it for so long. But no, I'm not a big Final Fantasy guy. I've played 10, and I've played 12, and I think that's it.
Yeah, no. Didn't play any of them.
No,
it's one of those ones that's 15 entries in, and I'm like, no, I'm not entering any of this. It's done. I've missed the boat.
It's more than 15, man.
Yeah. There's 15 mainline entries, and then there's others.
Yeah, Matt McKnight, your favourite Metal Gear game? Most people say the first one, don't? I think we talked about this before as well. We did talk about this before
the
as well.
Same question as last week.
It was. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. I forget. SJ Bashworth, DLC and loot boxes, pro or con? I like good DLC, but I hate loot boxes. It's all about integration, really, isn't it, and execution. I hate the loot boxes in Star Wars Battlefront 2, and not necessarily because the whole progression system's timed into it, although I don't like them there either. I hate them because it becomes a meta game. If I just want to play Star Wars Battlefront 2 and I've got to spend all my fucking time like opening boxes. I don't want to open. I didn't buy Star Wars to open boxes. I want to shoot laser guns. That really gets under my skin because I'm like, this is a waste of my life. But you know, if I'm not an Overwatch fan, but in Overwatch they you could ignore them entirely. They don't get in your way. So I'm like, cool. If people want to buy it and it's not affecting the game, fine. DLC I like, but as I think we've talked about before, there are so few good examples of good DLC because no one seems to know how to do it right that I have gone off it because I'm bored of it. You know, I like a moron bought the Arkham Knight season pass. It was just bollocks. It was just like, oh, here's a really short level. You're going to play as Batgirl. I'm like, okay, well, this is rubbish. So that's my big problem. And anytime I talk about TL, I think we talked about this before, I swear, but I think it's worth repeating. You know, I think of the Shivering Isles for Oblivion. Amazing. A whole new experience, different world, different aesthetic, you know, and things like that. But really, is that DLC or was that expansion and an add-on? That was more PC than it was console.
Do you remember how much it cost, though?
20 quid, was it? Shivering Isle? Maybe it was 30 quid. No, I don't remember.
No idea.
It was a lot, but it was a lot of content.
Had the same thing, didn't it? It had those expansive story DLCs where it was just tightly crafted and you felt like you were paying for like something really high quality apart from Mothership Zeta. And then you don't really get things other than that. You get very short levels, like you say, or you get like some clothes and stuff. And I'm very unwilling to open my wallet these days for DLC.
Yeah, I am, because it's just not. It's just, I mean, but I don't think everything is bad. You said you like it. I'm the same with you. I like it when it's integrated and done right, but it rarely is. I don't know why. Resources, I would guess. But, yeah, I don't know. Hugh Gordon, what did you think of GTA 5? Sam? Do you like GTA 5?
I mean, yeah, I like GTA 5. I mean, it's one of those things. I find a lot of people saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm still playing it in single player. And I'm like, after the campaign, what are you doing?
Just running around.
What you find enjoying? I mean, good on them, but like, surely the appeal is online, and that's for me as well. Because it's like the quintessential online game, right? You can go there, you can do races if you want, you can do missions if you want, you can just piss around if you want, and I think that's why it's so popular, and I think it's really good. I wouldn't say like, oh, I love it. I wouldn't shout with praise from the rooftop, but it's a really high quality game.
It's such a hard game to talk about because I did review it. And I gave it a 10 out of 10. And I give it a 10 out of 10 again, even though I don't love it. Does that make sense? It's just it's one of those games where you really have to judge it on its own merits. And it's so well designed and it's so complete of an experience. The production values are so good. It's like what am I even criticizing here? It's weird. It's almost like a game unto itself because if you want to play GTA 5 because you like GTA games, it's perfect. And
it's like they boiled down their years of open world experience to create the open world game.
Exactly, and you know, and a lot of people would say, yeah, but a review should be a personal, a thought almost. And I agree with that, but some games rise above that, and GTA 5 really does. You know, it's not one of my favorite games of all time, but I think it's a work of art. Like what you've just said, what they pulled together from 20 years of experience or whatever, it's incredible. Like it's the best open world game. Technically ever made. There's no question about it. It's phenomenal. Everson, would Simon make a good substitute for Kratos? Yeah, I think so. I mean, well up for that. Somebody hire me as Kratos. That'd be great.
You need to say boy a lot, but I'm sure you can manage that.
That kid, we'll get to it. John Kiddle, what Bethesda game do you think will be announced at this year's E3? A new Doom? Doom 2?
It's really hard to tell with Bethesda, isn't it?
Do we need a new Oblivion at this point? A new Elder Scrolls at this point?
I'd have a new Oblivion.
Yeah, so would I. Yeah, me too. But is it too? Because they've released so many episodes, so many different iterations of flipping Skyrim. Is it time? I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. I mean, you're not going to get. It's not going to be a new Fallout. I can safely say, no. Quake, they've got something going on with. Wolfenstein just came out. Evil Within just came out. I can see a Doom, Elder Scrolls. We are in that remit. And what else do they have?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You just don't know. Apart from like Elder Scrolls and Fallout are the big honchos, and then you sort of get the little ones, and we've sort of had all the little ones recently. Doom was only 2016, so maybe a 2019 Doom, maybe.
I guess you could announce at E3 for early next year, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like Elder Scrolls 6 is so mythical. You know what I mean? You don't ever think that it could be a reality, but then if they come along, everyone will lose their minds and they'll just win E3, right? But could you imagine like them unveiling it and we hadn't heard anything about it? No leaks, no nothing.
I'd love it. What a world that would be, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine we wouldn't have heard any rumblings about it until E3.
What do they even do with it? Like, do they change it up? Do they just set it just repeat what they've done? I don't know where we're at with Elder Scrolls at the moment.
Well, I think Fallout 4 got a bit of backlash because it was more of the same, but not as high quality. But the thing is, that's a Bethesda RPG, so I don't know what else they do. Like, because Fallout and Oblivion were the same formula, you know.
Yeah.
Jim Trinker stuff, like classic Morrowind 2.0 or whatever.
Morrowind is like tough, man. Compared to the street, I mean, Oblivion is streamlined compared to Morrowind. We were talking about open world games that don't tell you where to go. My life. Morrowind is not your friend. That's all I'll say. I don't know why people think Morrowind is the best game. I struggle with that game massively.
Yeah, I tried playing it, and you know that combat system where you can't hit anything?
Oh, gee, kill me.
I was just like, no.
It's so hard. Such a hard video game. We talked about that last week, so we won't do that again. We'll do this. Dylan Wildman, how much longer do you think the current gen consoles have in them? Games like God of War technically proving there's still a lot of potential left. I agree with that. God of War is a fantastic looking game. Mentioning what you said earlier, Sam, about how much I can bring to an experience. That's one of the best things about God of War is in its sort of slower pace moments. It's just it deliberately has been done. So you notice the open notice the world and the graphics, and oh man, it's incredible. However, again, it's a business question. When did the PS4 come out? 2013?
Back end of 2013, yeah.
Right, yeah. So we are coming up to 5 years, essentially.
Which is crazy. You don't think of it as 5 years old, do you?
No. Well, no. I mean, actually, what was the official release date for it? Was it early PS? So it's the 15th of November 2013. So yeah, we literally, so November is 5 years. Whoosh, I don't know. So, I mean, 2020? Because you need a good year of build. I don't think they're announcing anything this year. So I guess my guess would be 2020. So 7 years. Yeah,
that was about the same time the Xbox 360 and PS3 hung around.
Yeah.
But that's a different time, obviously. And I don't really know what they'd do with it. If someone was just like, yeah, it runs 4K and everything, they'd be like, well, we got that. So what's the point in releasing another one?
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with it, but I can imagine there's something else in the pipeline because Sony and Microsoft want people to pay money for their stuff. So.
Well, yes, exactly. The plans are already there. Karen Fairy, do you agree with the idea of Nintendo Hard as being a standard of difficulty that games today have lost and they should try to get it back? I think we talked about that about 5 minutes ago. No, I don't like those kind of games. I think they should exist if that's what a developer sets out to do, like Super Meat Boy, for example. Great, fun. Yeah. But I don't. No, I don't. I'm just going to reiterate. I just really don't. I don't like a challenge anymore in games. I just don't. What can I say?
Yeah, I just don't. I just want good stories, laid back experience, killing dudes, feeling like a powerful dude.
Yep, 100%.
Illegals.
Damien Cruz, what do you think will be the future of consoles? Fluidity, 60 or more FPS, or graphics, 4K? Or will they try to look for a center point between those two? And I think it's a really interesting question because I was talking about this with a friend the other day. What does the Xbox 3 or whatever, Xbox 4 or whatever, and the PS5 do? What do they do? And I don't have an answer for you because we talked about how good visuals are, sure, but that's not the be-all and end-all by any stretch of the imagination. Gameplay at the moment, I actually quite like where it is. We talked about God of War today, how good that is, and you liked Far Cry. It's not like we're sitting there going, "Oh, games feel stagnant, games feel stale." It kind of ties into when everyone thought, "Oh, motion controls are going to be the future." Well, not really, because the controller's kind of already been perfected for what games should be, so it's unlikely we're just going to do this massive shift. So, other than just more power, I do think we're getting to an interesting time when it comes to consoles because I don't know what else they can really do that's going to surprise people.
Yeah, there's a rumour that in-game streaming will be built into the next Xbox.
Well, I mean, that would be good, right? But
I don't really want to stream my game. You know what I mean? I'm happy to get a copy of a game for one-off price and not have to pay a subscription fee to get that game.
Yeah, like I love the idea of sort of Netflix for games, right? Love it. It's a great idea. But does it make me want to spend £350, £400 on a new console? Not really. It's not, it's not an evolution that makes me think, okay, I need to now buy this thing. It's just not. So I don't know. I don't know. I think we're in an interesting time for games. I think the problem with a lot of if you're of my generation or Sam's generation is that we got to experience the wonder that was, the Xbox to the Xbox 360 or the PS1 to the PS2 to PS3. That jump to HD was incredible. It blew your mind. But we're never going to get that again because unless what would they invent? I don't even know. 3D? Nope, we've done that. 4K is good, but it's not that huge in terms of that, compared to that. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I have no idea either. I just without the because we've always talked about consoles in terms of graphical power. Oh, you look at the PS1, that looks like a PS2 game, that looks like a PS3 game, whatever. But I think not that we're at the pinnacle. It could surely get better, but like the TVs are the maxed out. I think like you've got what you need in an Xbox One X or a PS4 Pro. What more could we do in the next 2 years, like you say?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but yeah, I really don't have an answer. Stuart Bramley, do you think the new COD will have a Battle Royale mode? I would bet your life it does. That you can't just scrap the single player without having something to back it up, surely.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of heat that Battlefront 1 got for not having a single player campaign and charging full price, you just imagine there's extra. Because I can't imagine they're just getting half the workforce and be like, cool, see you later, go home. There's got to be something else in the pipeline, because I think they realise that the Call of Duty formula, team deathmatch, search and destroy, whatever, that's also getting stale. And yeah, I think Battle Royale, it would be dumb of them not to, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I just, you can't take away without giving. And also, I'd be intrigued to see what they did with it. Everyone loves this formula, so why not see what I don't mean this disparagingly to anybody else, but like a triple A super big game can do with it. We haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying Epic aren't that developer, but I'm saying they developed a concept for that as opposed to trying to develop a concept around it. So I'd be intrigued to see what. And there's no two ways about it. Call of Duty remains the biggest game in the world, the biggest shooter in the world. It doesn't matter. Is it as big as it once was? Maybe not, but still the biggest. So I would actually be intrigued to see what they can do with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not like it's like on the back foot, but it's still like not where it was. And I think they're probably looking to get a bit more fans on board, and what better way than with the biggest genre in the world.
Exactly. So I'd actually like it if they did do it, because I'd be intrigued to see, and I'd be intrigued to see what the current fan base thought of it, both Battle Royale fans and Call of Duty fans. MDS, I think it's a good talk, as you're here, Sam. Newest to the podcast. Why do you hate Dark Souls? Well, I don't want to row with anybody, but I just believe that Dark Souls is broken fundamentally. And I believe that it's done on purpose, and that is where the challenge comes from. Now, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, great. However, I struggle to get into a game that I believe is deliberately doesn't work in the way that it's meant to, just to create difficulty. And I'm not saying that to wind anybody up. Just when I play it, I'm like, that doesn't work.
I mean, it helps, though, doesn't it?
Well, it does help. I do like that part of it. But it's just like, to me, when I play it, I'm like, that bit doesn't work. That bit doesn't work. That's broken. There's barely any frame rate in the first game. And it all feels like intentional to make a hard video game. I just don't like it. I just don't like it. It's not fun to play. Would be my underlying sentence. And what really runs it into the ground are not you people here, you're all lovely, but the stereotypical Dark Souls fan who will come and just say horrible things because you don't like their game. So I don't have to like your game. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I mean, I really like it. It's probably my fourth favourite game of all time. If I was going to create an extensive list.
Yeah.
But I like it because it's well designed. I really love the interlocking Metroidvania world, like the hopeless world and all that stuff we've talked about, all artsy fartsy. But I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, I love it, it's so hard, or like, because if someone ever came out to me like, oh, I completed Dark Souls, bro, I'd be like, cool. Like it's not like a status thing. There's only, it'd be so lame to be like, this is a status thing. But no, I can totally see why people don't like it, because when you see footage of especially I remember when I was watching a man who hates Bloodborne plays Bloodborne, and I was like, yeah, he just stuck to the wall right there. I see what he's talking about. Because I saw that the floors come out, and but yeah, I don't. It's silly to defend a game, I guess. Just because you like it, it's not. It's fine. People can like what they like. People can dislike what they like.
The thing is, let's say that I'm 100% correct and they did break it on purpose. Well, guess what? A lot of people like that. So is it really broken to begin with? If a tree falls in a wood, no one's around to hit it to make a sound. So, but that's just my personal preferences. I just don't like. It's not for me. And don't forget, I'm allowed that opinion. I completed Bloodborne, so I stuck with it. I win.
What did you prefer, a Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne?
I prefer Bloodborne. I think Bloodborne is it's just more accessible. It's not. I wouldn't say it's accessible in general, but it's more accessible. Dark Souls 3, oh my word, that was such a grind. Such a grind. Like, too much for me. Too much for my brain. Just not. It's hilarious as well, because when I was first introduced to Dark Souls, it was with the line, "You'll love this, Miller." That's what I said. Miller, this is right up your street. And they're probably right on paper. In fact, I would say they are right on paper, but that's why it's incredible, right? It's just, that's just what happens. Just what happens. And I will get one more. I've lost my thread. Hang on 1 second. I will get it back up. One is just, you got any Battletoads? Don't know what that means. Sondre, I like this question. What, in your opinion, makes a great game soundtrack? Now, to me, the games that have good soundtracks have some of the best soundtracks you've ever heard. Shadow of the Colossus is up there. God of War's actually is really good. I think the Last of Us soundtrack is wonderful. I mentioned this last time. What's it called? Valiant Hearts by Ubisoft is awesome. But in terms of what makes a good one, and this is why I always revert to Shadow of the Colossus, is when I hear Shadow of the Colossus, this is so artsy-fartsy and wanky, but it feels empty, and it feels isolated, and it feels vast. Yeah. That's what I hear in the Shadow of the Colossus soundtrack, because that's probably evoking my feelings towards the game, but I also think that's represented in the music. And I totally believe that when a video game gets it right, they match the feeling they're trying to convey as you play so well that you can't replicate it anywhere else. Because you can't replicate that. There's loads of good movie soundtracks, but you can't replicate it in the game the way that a game does, because you're not interacting with it in the same way that you do with the game. And that's why it's so special. And that, to me, is what makes a great soundtrack.
Yeah, I'd say for me, it's like when a soundtrack interweaves with the game's identity so well. That's probably my favourites, because I love Bioshock, but I couldn't quote you any of the music. I love it when that bit goes like that. You know what I mean? I have nothing like that. Whereas Ocarina of Time has 1,000 different songs that you also play, which is important. I think to remember them. Yep. Mario soundtrack obviously is a classic. Yep. Halo. All these ones Halo's that you could quote, or like you hear them and you're like, oh, that reminds me of that specific moment in games. I think that's really good. I mean, obviously you can't be like, that's better than the thousands of people who worked to create that orchestral soundtrack in Bioshock. But I think that's what resonates most with people, because I think soundtrack's one of the unsung heroes of games, because you hear a lot of it and it impacts your experience, but you don't realize it does. And I think more people just remember the songs you play on the ocarina and things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's a wonderful. I still remember all the songs from Ocarina of Time, and you're right. A lot of it's because I played them, but also because they're just catchy.
Yeah,
I think Nintendo. I mean, probably Nintendo have all the best. Although even the Street Fighter 2 soundtrack is probably up there. Because I don't know, it doesn't really go about everything what I just said, but it does capture a certain vibe. You know, I know all of them. Rise to these Chems things. I know all of them because maybe it's because I was young. I don't know, or maybe just because they're good pieces of music. But yeah, I mean, I think they're awesome. I love that. I love that too.
It's no, it's not to do with soundtracks, but I think it's a lot of shout out has to go to good radio stations as well. Like Fallout, GTA has nailed it over the years, Saints Row. So I think that also has a lot to do with it as well.
I think so, yeah. Especially as licensed music became a big thing in games, and people would just pick these amazing soundtracks. You know, you start Vice City to, is it Billie Jean? You start Vice City to?
I've not played Vice City.
I think it is. I think Vice City is definitely a Michael Jackson track. I think it's Billie Jean. And you're driving along in this 1980s neon-inspired world as that playing. You're just like, fucking A. It's just like, it gets you straight away.
Yeah, and Fallout, like, they took songs that not many people would have heard, obviously with the generation that plays games, and then they just gave them a sort of new audience, a new love, because you associated it with this sort of 90s. It went with the world so well.
Yeah.
And now nobody hears, like, Civilization, bongo, 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 and hears, like, that whoever sung that, you only hear, like, the Capital Wasteland, and it's just, I think that's really good as well.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that's, I think soundtracks are an underrated part of video games. When they nail them, they nail them. It's like Final Fantasy. It's got great music. Absolutely great music. Even though I don't like the video game, but I like the orchestral scores and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And on that note, we will bring the Weekend Gaming to a close. Thank you very much for listening, everyone, to download us. We will be back next Monday. I'm sorry the reason we did go up last Monday is basically because I decided to become a wrestler, and I was running around the place trying to sort it out. I know this is ridiculous as it sounds. You can tune into a special edition of the Pro Wrestling Podcast this week. Just search for that on iTunes or whatever, as we're going to talk about it all. But it was the best experience of my life. I will give you that one. We'll also do a God of War special this week on the Weekend Gaming, so look out for that. Is there anything else? Is there anything coming out next week that we should know about? I don't think there is there?
Is anything coming out? That is a good question.
I'm looking at it now. I'm going to look it up now.
Pre-E3, just not.
That's the thing, right? A lot of people just run away from it, as we were talking about. But I'll just check before. I'm trying to think if I played anything else I swear I played something else that I thought I should talk about. I played MLB The Show, but we talked about that last time. It was good. It's a good video game.
There's Donkey Kong Frozen. No, what's the Frozen one? Donkey Kong.
Oh, is that out?
Tropical Freeze. That's coming out on Switch.
Again, that's cool. That's cool. You know, you can play that. Pillars of Eternity 2 is out. People love that game. I never understood it, but that is coming out. And Conan Exiles finally comes out on the PS4 and Xbox One as a bad video game. It was when I played it in early access. Maybe they've sorted it out, but yeah, bad video game. But other than that, yeah, May, it doesn't really have. You know, May's more. You know, you've got Sega Mega Drive Classic, Street Fighter 30 Anniversary. Oh wait, no, I lie. I know what's out in May. Flipping Detroit Become Human.
Oh,
is out. Like, we will,
totally forgot about that.
We will talk about that because who knows what that's going to be. But that's late May. So yeah, before then we'll touch on all the games. Then we get to June. That's when things get fun. So we get E3, and we can see how it goes. Also, Vampire's out in June. I'm intrigued about Vampire, but we'll talk about that on another episode. But Sam, thank you very much for joining me as always.
No worries. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, yeah, it has been a pleasure. I agree. I've had a great time. And yes, we'll be back next Monday. Check out the Pro Wrestling Podcast. I'm on Twitter at Simon316. Hit up the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules. I think that's everything. Leave us 5 stars. You can hit me up at the Patreon, patreon.com/Simon316. That's what makes all of this stuff possible. But mainly, keep enjoying your games. Don't get too upset. Be happy. Love life. And I'll talk to you soon.